Hi there. Here's a card that we made at the store today using a stamp set called By the Tide. This is a great set for your masculine cards. Has lots of nice images that are perfect for collage stamping. This card was created by using a mask to give you that torn look on the top and the bottom. And we sponged inks to create a soft blue background. And then we stamped all the images before removing the mask. We added a little sea coral at the bottom with the greeting. And this was all stamped on Whisper White cardstock and then layered on Whisper White cardstock. So it has a nice bright look to it. You're going to use Whisper White cardstock that's cut 4 inches by 5 1/4. Just take 2 Post-it notes. These are still stuck together, and you're going to tear the edge that has the sticky on the back. And you want to tear slowly towards you. You want to have a little unevenness. You don't want to try to tear a perfectly straight line here. And just kind of inch it along till you get to the end. You're going to separate these. If you place your cardstock on your grid paper, you can actually go about 3 squares down, if that helps. The other thing you can do when you're sticking this down is you can line up the edge of your Post-it note to the grid paper as well. Now we want to go about 2 inches down from the opening, and if you need measurements, 1 inch is about 4 squares, so 2 would be 8, which would be right about here. And again, you can use your grid paper to help you line this up so you're not too crooked. So we're going to use Marina Mist ink. We're going to use a stamping sponge. You're going to pat on your ink pad. You want to go in a soft circular motion when you're sponging, and you're going to start around the edges and work your way in. You want to start mostly off the paper in case your ink is too dark, and just go in a soft circular motion. And you're going to do this all the way around. If you were to go streaky, you might see some of those streak lines. So go back to your ink pad, and remember you start mostly off your paper in a soft circular motion. And hit all the edges first before you start working your way towards the center. And this looks pretty light, but when you pull back the Post-it note, you can see that it's quite a bit dark already. So you don't want to go too dark because you're going to be stamping a lot of images here, and you might find that if it's too dark, you're not going to see those images as well. So err on the side of caution and go lighter than darker, because you can always add more ink, right? Grab the lobster, tap, and then angle him a little bit on the left side. And you're going to press firmly in the center of this lobster. You don't want to mash when you get to the top of these skinny little pieces, because it might wobble on you and give you kind of a blurry image, but do press firmly in the center. So we're still going to use some Midnight Muse. Now you'll notice I don't put stickers on the back of my stamps. That's my preference. But if you're not familiar with the stamp, just stamp on scratch paper just to make sure he's not upside down. So ink him up, and we're going to go a little bit to the bottom right and off the paper a little bit. The next thing that I want to stamp is the seashell. And I'm going to use a lighter shade of blue. This one is called Island Indigo. So I'm going to turn it this way and press that down. I also want part of the seashell up here to fill in that area. So I'm going to turn it this way and press that down. I think I'm going to do the words, and I do want it in a lighter blue. So I did all my sponging in Marina Mist, so I'm going to bring that back. Tap. Now I know that this stamp is not upside down if I have the bumpy edge on the bottom, but if you're not sure, remember, just stamp on your scratch paper and double check. So I'm just going to cover up some of this little open area with the words. So I'm just going to go right in the center, and I'm not pressing hard. I don't care if I get an uneven inking of the words. I think it looks a little more antique-y and distressed, and that's fine with me. And I'm going to get this little area right over here, and then maybe just a teensy bit right there. Now, once you've got your stamping done, if you've decided that it's still not quite dark enough, just go back to your stamping sponge and then add some more sponging. It'll help kind of blend those colors, especially if you think one is darker than what you originally intended. A little extra sponging will go a long way. So I like the way that this looks, and once you've got all your stamping completely done, then you can remove the mask. If you remove the mask before you're finished, it's hard to line it back up exactly. So take that off. And the other thing to notice is you can actually reuse these Post-it notes for probably 2 or 3 cards. After that, they get fairly saturated with ink, and it'll start transferring some other colors to your card that you might not like. So after 2 or 3 cards, you're going to have to toss these and get some new ones. So now for the bottom of the card, I want to have this coral image, but I want it to be fairly light because I want my greeting to be stamped over it. Now the Marina Mist is going to give me too dark a shade. So what I'm going to do is stamp off on my scratch paper. See how dark that is? Then I'm going to come to my card and I'm going to go down and off to the side a little bit. So because I've already stamped off once on my scratch paper, it won't be quite as dark. Now I'm going to make this one a birthday card. So I'm going to use a stamp set that's called Bring on the Cake. And there's lots of different greetings here that are appropriate for birthdays. I like this one because it's a little bit thicker lettering, and I think it works well for a masculine card. So I'm going to tap tap on my ink pad. I know I wanted to overlap the coral a little bit. And it is a bolder image stamp, so I do want to press fairly firmly to get a nice solid inking. There we go. Now see how pretty that turned out? So to finish off this card, it's really simple. You're going to take another sheet of Whisper White cardstock. You're going to cut it in half so that it measures 5.5 by 8.5, and you're going to score it down the middle at 4 1/4. Now this is also a good opportunity to look at your fingers. You're going to be a little inky from sponging, but you don't want it to be wet ink that's going to transfer to your card, especially when you're working with Whisper White. You want it to stay nice and crisp. So we're going to turn this over, and I like to turn it over to a clean part of your scratch paper just in case that ink isn't dry yet. And we're going to go around all the edges. I'm pretty generous with adhesive when I'm layering to the front of my card. If this was going to be layered to the inside of the card, I would only hit the corners with adhesive. Then it's easier to remove the inside and recycle it and use it for someone else. A good way to line it up is to hold this up in your hand. You're going to set down this edge, and you're going to look at the side, the top, and the bottom. And once you get those about, oops, sorry, it stuck a little bit sooner than I wanted. Once you get them about even, then you can set it down. But I'm looking at the sides and the top and the bottom. Now, a good thing is this is white on white, so even if you're not perfectly straight, it still works because the edges aren't as noticeable. But isn't that a great card? Super easy. It looks like we have another layer on top, but it's really just one single layer. So I hope you enjoyed this card. For more ideas, you can go to KeenanCreations.com. Thank you, and have a great day.